Hey guys, I wanted to share some practical tips for when you feel anxiety or even a panic attack setting in. Now, this is a conversation that I had with counselors Stephanie Castle and Paul Ober from Refining Grace Counseling, but I just want to acknowledge up front anxiety and panic are super complex. So, I don't assume to think that this video in just a couple minutes will fix your situation, but I just wanted to share some practical tips for what you might be able to do to try to help regain control when that moment sets in. But really want to encourage you, check out tpcc.org/care or /counseling for more help. We provided some resources there and then some links to vetted counselors that we really trust, because dealing with your anxiety, dealing with panic is going to take ongoing help and ongoing assistance that a quick clip on YouTube can't fix. But would love to get you connected with counselors who can help walk through that with you and help encourage you not only in how you can recover from anxiety and panic, but also how you can walk with Jesus through that. So check these clips out. Hopefully it'll give you some practical tips that may be helpful.
It's really hard to talk to yourself rationally when you're in the middle of shortness of breath, heart rate running, all those things. You have to tend to your physical self and that physiological event first. Then you can move into a more detailed approach where you might journal or do some other things. Sometimes prayer and breathing exercises can be really effective for managing the initial anxiety attack if you're having one.
Mm-hmm. Can we drill down on that a little bit? I know you just shared prayer and breathing exercises. Are there other things, techniques, things that you would suggest when somebody feels that onset of anxiety or panic to
One
kind
of
of
the
help?
things that I have to talk with people about is how our system is set up. Sometimes we hear about a lot of people that use inappropriate ways to cope, like kids sometimes smacking their head against a wall, or teens or adults cutting or doing other things to physically harm. The reason that works is because our brain will always go to the pain first, a pain response, because we're self-preserving or preserving. So instead of doing that, instead of hurting ourselves to try to manage the anxiety, a better way would be something like, sucking on a lemon slice because it's sour, and the brain will register that, and that can bring us down just enough to start some breathing exercises, right? Or I've had people get those hot, they're like gobstoppers that are really, really hot cinnamon, and pop those in their mouth for 10 seconds and then take them out and start breathing exercises. Doing some things that are safe for us. The yeses, again, having your list of yeses for coping can be really helpful, because you can't necessarily reason out of the anxiety until you deal with the panic.
That's good.
And Stephanie, I've heard, like you're saying, if someone's disconnecting or disassociating from the environment at the moment, is it to like take the deep breaths? I've heard like, tell me 5 things you see, tell me 4 things you hear, tell me 3 things you smell. And all that's to ground them in the moment, right? So you can't even do like, well, let's stop and think. I can't stop and think yet. My amygdala is taking over, like all this kind of biochem going on first. So once that's done, I like the other example I encourage people to do is I've heard it said like a scaling question or a temperature gauge, so you're feeling like this is a pain attack. What would you call it? Well, I didn't want to go to school today, or my boss has to have a call meeting. That feels like a 10. Well, you have to go home and talk to your wife. That feels like a 5, or that feels, what I mean? So you get a scaling question to try to help them realize they can't live at the 10. The temperature idea, I've heard it say, like, if you're most comfortable at 70 degrees, that's your comfort zone. Well, what makes you hot getting up to the 90s? What makes you feel like you're freezing down to 7? That fight or flight or freeze could be a way to help them, again, take control of their own body regulation and realizing, what does it feel like? And sometimes adding the idea of what could be worse or what could be better might change the thinking versus feeling so stuck. Something
And having some of those things written down for themselves that they can pull out, like, what do you smell? What do you see? What do you hear? So that they can immediately have a trigger from therapy that kind of helps them start that process, can be really helpful. And I've had clients actually use the scaling stuff that Paul's talking about, but put it on a calendar. Like, what numbers have I been today? Maybe I woke up and I felt like an 8, but by the midday I was at 5, and it can help them kind of track and see what's triggering them if they're not sure.
Well, again, just to bookmark it, head to tpcc.org/care or /counseling for resources and vetted counselors we trust who can help you walk through anxiety and panic. And not only that, but to learn how to walk with Jesus through it and to get the healing and the help you need. Don't be ashamed about getting help. We all need it, and you can't do life alone. So check it out. Again, tpcc.org/care.